Hey, beautiful people. This is your girl and your host, Kayla Rose. Welcome to another episode of Soul Seed, the show, which is dedicated to taking you to new levels of you. As usual, I hope you guys have had a good week. Happy Sunday. Miss being with you guys on Monday. Was feeling a little bit under the weather, but I am back today. So before we get into it, let's see what's going across our screens. Please take advantage of our introductory offer for advertising, and you can contact us on 07956 Just missed that number that is coming across the screen again. So let's see if I can get that for you guys. 07956 911 197. So if you have a business, service, or product you would like to promote to our Relax Radio listeners and viewers, please do take advantage. And as usual, please go and download our Relax Radio app. You can stay up to date with us on the go and go check us out on our other social media platforms, which include YouTube and Twitter. And you guys are on Facebook now, right? So make sure you give a like or make sure you add us as a friend. So today I am going to be discussing with you guys a new series which I'm doing on balancing health and hormones. And I'm going to be discussing in this series 5 common hormonal imbalances. And today we are going to be dealing with cortisol. So I thought I'd start with a quote. I didn't give you guys my usual quote of the week on Monday. So the quote I've chosen for today's live is: the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. And that's by William James. So that is the quote I'm using for today. And as I said, we are discussing cortisol. And some of you may be aware of this hormone, some of you may not. But basically, if you are living on planet Earth at the moment, you may be having some issues with your cortisol levels. And cortisol is our main stress hormone. So I don't know many people who are not feeling some kind of stress on the planet right now with everything that's going on with coronavirus, COVID-19, and vaccination. So you may be one of them. So it is a steroid hormone and it is released by our adrenal glands. So anytime you are feeling some form of stress, your body is pumping out cortisol into your system. But back in the day, when we used to deal with stressful events or situations, they were mainly things to do with survival, like wild animals and trying to get food and different things like that. But in today's modern society, our stressful events usually revolve around finances, relationships, and possibly work and different things like that. And our brains can't differentiate between actual physical dangers and mental and emotional dangers. So the problem is, if you are in a state of constant stress because maybe you are overwhelmed at work or you've got certain financial situations going on, your body is staying in an elevated state of the fight and flight response. And basically, you're constantly pumping out cortisol and certain stress hormones into your system. And of course, we know that chronic stress or elevated levels of stress over prolonged periods of time can definitely impact our health. So today I'm going to be discussing with you guys some of the symptoms that can come from either having too much cortisol or sometimes too little, because cortisol is a hormone that does have a role in other functions of the body. And I'm going to be given a few tips about what we may be able to do to try and manage our stress levels and to manage our cortisol levels as well. So, what else does cortisol do? It increases glucose in the bloodstream, so basically sugar. So, trying to give the body energy. So, obviously, if there's something that you need to run from, right, in that fight and flight response, you're going to be able to do that. It also helps the brain to utilize glucose as well and to repair tissue substances. And I felt like there was something else I wanted to add to that. I might have to come back to it. So, what things can you experience if you are suffering from too much cortisol in your system? You may find that your memory and concentration is impacted. Many people have experienced that, right? If you're feeling stressed out, sometimes you may not be able to recall certain information. Sometimes you may not even be able to retain certain information as well. Headaches. So, how many of you have been stressed out before and then you get a headache, right? It's just too much for the brain, it's too much for the mind, and basically you get a splitting headache. This can be to do with the amount of cortisol which is in your system. Rapid weight gain, particularly in certain areas such as the face. No one wants to get a fat face, right? Or I don't think many people want to have a fat face. The upper back and also the midsection. And particularly with the midsection, you may get something called stress belly. So if you are someone who is very mindful of your diet and exercise, and that seems to be an area that you're struggling with, it could be to do with the fact that you are stressed out and that you've got too much cortisol in your system. So it may be very beneficial for you to start trying to manage the stress in your life, and you may start seeing an improvement in that area. Skin conditions as well. So it can have an impact on certain inflammatory reactions within the body, such as acne. And acne at its core is an inflammatory condition within the. So you know that diet is going to be, of course, diet's going to be on the list, right? The things that we can do to try and manage our level. I can see is a little bit jumpy, so please do write a comment just to confirm if you guys can hear and see me okay. But I'm just gonna keep on going until you guys tell me otherwise. It can have an impact on mood swings and anxiety and depression as well if you're dealing with elevated levels of cortisol in your system. It can have an impact on high blood pressure and contribute to possible stroke as well. And an extreme case of too much cortisol in the system is something called Cushing's syndrome. And the symptoms of this particularly can be a fatty lump shoulders, rounded stretch marks, and also bone loss, and potentially leading to diabetes. Osteoporosis can be something that you experience as well, muscle weakness. So, just from those alone, we can see that too much stress has a massive impact on the body. And one of the main reasons why people visit GPs actually is because of stress and the physical symptoms that come from that. So, just dealing with this area, we can really see how the mind plays such a role and has such an impact on the health of the body. So, what other things does cortisol play a role in? Other functions in the body, what does it play a role in as well? Our management of our macronutrients, such as carbs, fats, and proteins. Also, we've mentioned inflammation, so keeping inflammation down, regular blood pressure and blood sugar levels. Also, it has a role in our sleep and wake cycles and our energy levels as well. So, I think the most important thing to take from that is about balance, really. So, too much cortisol, you're going to have negative effects, and if you have too little, you're going to have negative effects as well. And I just think that's probably a key word, not only in health and hormones, but just in life in general, finding that perfect balance which works for you particularly. So, what are some of the things that we are able to do? And before I get into the list, I would also say as well, you can also experience what's called adrenal fatigue if you are in chronic states of stress. Basically means when your body is just constantly pumping out these stress hormones, that basically the adrenals get tired because it's just overworking all the time and performing this function all the time. Because usually if you go through a stressful situation, you should go through the stressful situation, go into your fight and flight response, and then after that stressful situation passes, you should basically simmer back down and be in a normal state. But of course, you're not getting back down to that normal state if your stress levels are always elevated. So, what are the things we can do, right? So, exercise is, of course, going to be on the list. And in fact, even though exercise ultimately is beneficial to the body, if you're doing extreme exercise, that is basically seen as a stressor in the body, and your cortisol levels will increase. So you want to be doing something that is slightly moderate, something that's not put your body under a lot of stress, but obviously something that is going to kickstart those endorphins and those feel good hormones. So be mindful of the intensity and the type of exercise you may do in. Something like yoga can be a really good one. Yoga is always really relaxing, or whatever works for you. Next one is sleep. Sleep for so many different things when it comes to health. And even though these tips are simple, right? They're not always easy to do. It's much easier said than done. But we can all try possibly maybe just picking one or two things at a time and trying to get a handle of that in our lives so we can have better states of health. And of course, that's going to lead on to being more successful in your life, because if you're in a better state of health, you're able to go and pursue your goals and dreams and the things that you want to achieve in life. If your health's not right, nothing really is going to be right in your life. Practicing mindfulness, which is basically really trying to live in the moment, not projecting into the future or thinking and ruminating on the past too much, just trying to deal with the present moment. So that is something we can try and do to manage our levels of stress and to reduce our cortisol levels. Taking time to relax. I know that I definitely improve in this area. I think living in many Western countries, and especially the big cities, is so busy and we're rushing around all the time, and there's so many things on our to-do list. But basically trying to take time out for yourself to relax and bring your body into a state of relaxation is definitely going to help manage those cortisol levels. Having fun, so doing things which you enjoy and that just make you happy, basically. We all have a responsibility to make ourselves happy, so to invest time into those types of things. And we kind of touched on this in the previous series, right, about the science of happiness. And so that's also going to tie into those dopamine levels as well. It's doing things that bring you pleasure, whatever that may be. Then maintaining positive relationships in your life. So really investing into the people who make you feel good, put you in a good state of mind. That is so your network. That is an area of your life to invest into, which is going to help you in managing your cortisol levels and your stress levels. And on the flip side of that, it's going to be getting rid of toxic relationships. So if you have relationships in your life which really bring you down, people who are overly critical of you, or just after your interaction with them, you just don't feel good about it, to distance yourself from those types of people or those types of relationships, which could also be professional relationships as well. So if you need to try and find a new job, if that's something that may help to reduce your stress levels, then definitely look into doing that and taking those steps. Taking care of a pet is something that can help reduce your stress levels. I think it's that altruistic nature of that, basically, of taking care of something or someone else can really make us feel good about ourselves, and ultimately put maybe our issues and our situations into perspectives, which can help to reduce our cortisol levels and ultimately our stress levels as well. So it's something you really have to look at your whole lifestyle. It's not just one particular thing that we can do to reduce our cortisol levels or to manage our stress levels. We just have to look at our lifestyles as a whole. Getting into nature definitely has a therapeutic effect on the body, so try and do that as much as possible. Obviously, it's been a little bit cold at the moment and we have been in lockdown, but we are still allowed to go outside and get our daily exercise, right? So if you can get into nature as much as possible, or if you're lucky enough to even just have a garden, just going out into your garden and just being in that environment around your flowers, and just the beauty of that can definitely help to reduce your stress levels as well. And then finally, I don't and before finally, did I say I said mindfulness, but I didn't say meditation. And you guys know that meditation is always on the tips list in probably all of the videos, which I do. And then finally, so we're going to get onto foods and drink. So some of the foods that we can eat that help manage cortisol are dark chocolate. And even though I am primarily a milk chocolate kind of girl, and we know that that is not the healthiest option. Dark chocolate definitely has many more benefits for health over milk chocolate. So invest in some dark chocolate if you can. Bananas and beans seem to have positive effects when it comes to cortisol and managing stress. Black and green tea. Green tea is one of those super drinks, so it has so many benefits. So invest into at least a cup of green tea a day, or I'm sure you can find some way to work it in at least maybe a couple times a week. Probiotics as well, that is going to help. And fibrous foods. So the gut health is so important. I think last year I did a a studio show on the importance of gut health, but I just feel like I'm gonna have to come back and revisit that topic. They say the gut is the second brain, and 80% of our immune system is in the gut. So taking care of that area is definitely going to be useful. And there's some other teas which you can take are chamomile, and also having scents like lavender around, relaxing. So as I said, maybe having it as an essential oil or just having that fragrance in your home, in your bedroom, is going to maybe help you to relax and bring down those stress levels as well. So I would recommend, if you are dealing with a lot of stress, maybe go and look into that and research and see what you can do to try and help manage that in your life. A lot of these I am trying to keep or trying to incorporate again into my routine and my lifestyle, because as I said, if you're living on the planet during this time, you are probably dealing with some stress. So the next one that I'm going to be doing on my balancing health and hormones series is going to be insulin, which is all about sugar. And in fact, before I go, reducing sugar intake is something which helps to reduce stress as well. We know that when we take sugar, it's really like a feel good comfort food, but it basically produces spikes. And we'll get more into that when we speak about insulin. And for the final three shows of the series, we are going to be talking about the sex hormones. So we're going to be speaking about that estrogen, testosterone and progesterone, which is beneficial for both males and females. So don't feel like it's a female, female directed show. Is something that is going to have beneficial information for the guys out there as well. So thank you for joining me today. Glad to be back. Hopefully I've given you guys some useful information. Want to wish you guys a good start to your week tomorrow. And this has been your girl and your host, Kayla Rose. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully, fingers crossed, at some point we will be returning to the studio and we will keep you guys posted of that. I'm sure I'm going to have another live soon about how is this lifting of lockdown timeline going, how is this whole situation going, and when are we going to get a taste possibly of freedom once more. So this has been Soulseed, the show which is dedicated to taking you to new levels, and stay blessed. Bye.